Now let me tell you something, and I'm gonna keep it real with you the way I always do. When a man is cheating, he don't just cheat with his actions. He cheats with his words first. See, before he sneaks off, before he starts hiding his phone, before he suddenly gets too busy. He got a little script running through his head. That script is what keeps him alive in the game, and that's what I call the cover-up language. Cheaters are like actors in a bad play. The difference is, you don't need a ticket to see the show. You living in it every day. They rehearsing their lines in the shower. They practicing excuses in the car. And the minute you start asking questions, boom, here come those 6 little words, sliding out smoother than butter on a hot pancake. And I promise you, those words ain't innocent, they're not casual, they're code, and the code always means one thing: I'm hiding something from you. Now, ladies, I don't want you thinking every man is out here running a script. Good men don't need a script. A faithful man don't need a dictionary of lies to keep his story together. He just tells the truth. But when a man is out here stepping where he ain't supposed to step, he starts building himself a safety net. And that safety net is made out of words designed to make you feel guilty for even asking the question. That's the trick. That's how the game is played. Think about it. Cheating ain't just about what he's doing. It's about what he's trying to convince you not to notice. And those 6 words, they're designed to throw you off balance. They're meant to shut you down before you dig too deep. Because deep down he knows the minute you start connecting the dots, the whole picture gonna come together. And trust me, he doesn't want that picture to come together, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's how it works. When a cheater feels the heat, when he feels your intuition kicking in, he scrambles. He don't grab honesty. No, he grabs the first rehearsed line he got tucked away. And because you care about him, because you're trying to believe in him, because you want to think the best of him, those 6 words sound like a band-aid. But they ain't a band-aid, they a distraction. It's like putting perfume on garbage. You can spray all you want, but sooner or later, the stench gone come through. See, the cover-up language is clever because it always plays on emotion. A cheating man knows that logic will expose him, so he don't use logic. He uses feelings. He'll throw a line out that makes you question yourself instead of him. That's how the script is designed, to make you feel crazy, insecure, or guilty, while he sits back hoping you'll drop the subject. And the sad part is it works. At least for a while, but let me put you up on something real. When those 6 words come out, they don't come out of nowhere. They always follow a pattern. First, you notice the behavior change. He's on his phone more. He starts guarding it like it's Fort Knox. He's suddenly got all these late nights, at work or last-minute plans that never add up. Then, when you bring it up, instead of explaining, he drops the cover-up line. It's short, it's rehearsed, and it's designed to shut the whole conversation down. And if you listen closely, you can hear the fear behind it. Because a guilty man ain't bold, he's careful. Now here's the truth about the cover-up language. It's temporary. Lies can hold up for a little while, but the truth is like water. It always finds a crack to seep through. You can patch it, you can cover it, you can build a wall around it, but eventually the truth gon' leak out. And when it does, all those little 6 word cover-ups crumble like paper in the rain. That's why I say those words are never innocent. They're desperate. They're survival words. Ladies, let me tell you this. If you hear those 6 words, don't ignore your gut. Because your gut knows what your ears don't want to accept. And when you hear a man using language that sounds rehearsed, that feels too neat, too quick, too sharp, stop and ask yourself why. Why would a man who loves you, who respects you, who honors you, need a script? Why would he need to repeat a phrase like it's been sitting on the tip of his tongue? It's because he's hiding something. At the end of the day, the cover-up language is a mask, and masks don't last forever. They slip, and when they slip, you see the truth. But don't wait for the mask to slip before you trust your instincts. because 9 times out of 10, your instincts caught him before you even realized it. Those 6 words are the alarm bell, and when the alarm bell rings, don't hit snooze. Wake up, pay attention, and protect your peace, because let me tell you this, and I'll say it plain. If a man really loves you, you won't need to decode nothing. His words will match his actions will match his love, and you won't ever have to wonder if his script is covering up a story you were never supposed to hear. Let's go ahead and break this down in plain talk. When a man is guilty, his mouth becomes his worst enemy. See, guilt don't sit quiet inside a man. Guilt is like pressure building up in a soda bottle. You shake it long enough, eventually it's gone explode. And with cheaters, that explosion don't come in the form of honesty. No, sir, it comes out in the form of words. Vast, panicked, poorly thought out words that are meant to protect him from getting caught. That's what I call the guilt reflex. Now here's the deal. The guilt reflex kicks in because cheating is work. And I ain't talking about romance, I'm talking about juggling lies. You ever seen somebody try to juggle too many balls in the air? They look smooth for about 3 seconds, then the whole thing falls apart. That's what happens when a man is cheating. His brain can't keep up with the lies, so his mouth starts running overtime, trying to patch up holes before you notice, and that's when he slips. A guilty man doesn't think before he speaks. His reflex is to defend, deny, or distract. He ain't listening to your question. He ain't even thinking about what you said. The moment he feels suspicion coming his way, he panics. His brain might be saying, stay calm, keep it cool. But his guilt is screaming, say something, anything. And that's when his mouth gets ahead of him. He blurts out phrases that sound convincing to him in the moment, but don't hold up under the slightest bit of scrutiny. Think about this. When you ask a man an honest question, a faithful man will give you a simple, honest answer. Straight to the point, no stuttering, no rehearsed lines, no extra fluff. But when a guilty man answers, suddenly it's a whole speech. He starts talking too much, giving you information you didn't even ask for, like he's on trial in his own living room. Why? Because guilt makes him nervous, and nervousness makes him over-explain. That's the reflex. On the flip side, sometimes the guilt reflex works in the opposite direction. Instead of talking too much, he shuts you down too quick. You ask a simple question, and instead of an answer, he hits you with a phrase designed to make you feel like you crossed the line. He'll say something sharp, maybe even turn it back on you, so you end up defending yourself instead of questioning him. That's guilt talking, because when a man has nothing to hide, he doesn't need to go on the attack. He just tells you the truth. But when he's guilty, his first instinct is to throw you off the trail, and his mouth reacts faster than his logic. See, guilt ain't rational. Guilt is emotional. It don't care about timing. It don't care about consistency. It just wants relief. A guilty man's reflex is to get the spotlight off himself as quickly as possible. And he'll use whatever words pop into his head to make that happen. That's why you'll catch him saying things that don't even make sense if you sit down and think about them later. In the moment, it sounds like a solid excuse, but the next day you replay the conversation and realize it was nonsense. That's because his brain never had time to plan it. His guilt reflex just threw it out there. Ladies, let me give you something real. The guilt reflex is loud, but it's not smart. If you sit still long enough, if you listen without letting emotion cloud your mind, you'll hear the holes in the story. You'll hear the contradictions, because a guilty man talks faster than he can think, and truth be told, lies ain't designed to be durable. They're meant to buy time. And when a man is cheating, every phrase that spills out of his mouth in guilt is just him buying a few more minutes before reality catches up to him. The problem is, a lot of women hear these phrases and take them at face value because they want to believe the man they love. And I understand that love makes you want to trust, but the guilt reflex should never be ignored. When a man's mouth is moving faster than his brain, when he's shutting you down instead of opening up, when he's slipping into defensive mode for no reason, that's not communication. That's guilt doing the talking. At the core of it, the guilt reflex is proof that his conscience is still alive. If he truly felt nothing, he wouldn't panic, he wouldn't rush, he wouldn't fumble his words. The very fact that his mouth is working overtime means he knows he's wrong. And knowing he's wrong, he's scrambling to cover up what his actions have already revealed. The reflex is his way of hiding, but it's also his way of confessing. 'Cause in that scramble, the truth always leaks out in little cracks. So here's the takeaway. When you notice a man's words running faster than his brain, don't ignore it. Pause, listen, replay it in your head, because guilt can't stay quiet, and no matter how hard he tries to use words to cover it, his reflex will betray him every single time. A faithful man doesn't need a reflex, only a guilty one does. Here's the thing about cheating and lies. The truth ain't just something you figure out in your head. It's something you feel in your bones. Women got this built-in radar, this sixth sense, this whisper in the back of the mind that says, something ain't adding up here. That's what I call the gut check. And let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, the gut check is never wrong. When a man lets those 6 little words slip out his mouth, you don't need a lie detector, you don't need a private investigator, you don't even need to check his phone. Your spirit already taps you on the shoulder and says, girl, he lying. It's that moment when your heart wants to trust, but your gut is pulling you in another direction. And the older you get, the more you realize your gut has been right all along. See, women are natural detectives, but not because they snoop or because they dig. No, it's because women pay attention. You notice patterns, you notice tone, you notice when something feels off, even when nothing obvious has changed. That's intuition, and the gut check is intuition's way of throwing up a red flag and saying, don't ignore this one. Now, here's the challenge. Love makes you want to ignore that flag. Love makes you want to say, maybe I'm just overthinking. But let me tell you something. Your gut doesn't ring alarm bells for no reason. That uneasy feeling, that little twist in your stomach when he says those 6 words, that's your inner truth detector going off. And if you push it aside long enough, you'll only end up finding out later what you already knew deep down from the beginning. A man can play smooth with his words. He can have a script. He can throw excuses. He can even make you feel guilty for asking questions. But what he can't do is silence your gut, because your gut is tuned into energy, not explanations. It doesn't care what he says, it cares how he says it. It catches that tiny pause before he answers. It notices that little shift in his eyes. It hears the nervousness behind his calm voice. The gut sees what logic sometimes overlooks. Think about how many times you've looked back on a situation and said, I knew it. You might not have had the proof, but you had the feeling. That's the gut check. It's God's way, the universe's way, whatever you believe, of protecting you before the truth smacks you upside the head. It's that whisper saying, this is not what it looks like, pay attention. And here's where it gets deep. The gut check is not just about catching a cheater, it's about respecting yourself enough to listen when your soul is talking. Because every time you ignore it, every time you push that little voice down, you chip away at your own peace, and nothing is more expensive than peace. You can replace money, you can replace things, but you can't put a price on the calm that comes from knowing you can trust yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. Your gut check don't mean you need to fly off the handle the first time you feel something off. What it means is you don't brush it under the rug, you take note, you step back. You pay attention because the more you deny it, the louder it's gonna get, and eventually it will be undeniable. The funny part is, men underestimate women's gut checks. They think as long as they clean up their stories, as long as they hide their phone, as long as they play cool, you'll never figure it out. What they don't realize is, you don't need the details right away. You don't need the whole puzzle. The gut check lets you know the picture is crooked before you can even see all the pieces. And once you know it's crooked, the rest eventually reveals itself. Ladies, hear me on this. Trust is earned, but intuition is God-given. When your gut speaks, that's not paranoia, that's protection. And when those 6 words roll off his tongue, that little nudge you feel is not just emotion. It's your spirit waving a red flag. Don't gaslight yourself into ignoring it. Don't talk yourself into believing it's all in your head, because every time you say, I just knew it, what you're really saying is, my gut was right, I just didn't listen soon enough. So here's the truth, the gut check is your greatest ally. It won't always hand you proof on a silver platter, but it will guide you away from lies and toward clarity. A cheating man can out-talk your logic, but he can never out-talk your intuition. And once you start trusting that inner voice, you'll realize you've had the power all along. At the end of the day, those 6 words don't just reveal him. They reveal you. They reveal whether you trust yourself enough to listen when your gut says, girl, he lying. And once you honor that gut check, you'll never doubt yourself again. Because deep down, women already know